was quite a journey to make. And it was, I spent about 7 years painting the pictures for it. And it was first released in 2015. And then I released it again in 2020. Um, and it seems like it was meant for 2020, um, because the things that it speaks about um, really came to light and became important um, as this year unfolded. And as we go through, you'll see um, some of the poems that go with the artwork uh, really do speak to, what was happening at the time. And I don't think that anyone is, you know, ever going to forget 2020. So we're speaking about the calendar mainly in hindsight. Um, and in the introduction to the calendar, I talk about the concept of home and how important that concept is, and to feel that you're at home. Uh, and the idea that home is to be in the place and time where you belong now, not when that's in the future or when that's in the past. Um, and if you could switch to the next slide, Deborah. Um, this is Arez and Rashbi, um, home, Nicut. That's home in my native language. And this is a longhouse that we built. I was actually on a project we put together. We had 24 tribal members working on the longhouse, and we got grants and gave them stipends and all of that. And so this is my home reservation. And it's with COVID, and with COVID came, I think it really redefined home. It redefined family. It uh, caused everybody to find their center, and people are more centered now uh, than they were in the past. Um, and the first poem in this is a poem called Moonrise. Is Marsha on? Is Marsha on with us?
I am. Hi.
Can we switch to Moonrise and listen to, and this is a poem that needs a woman's voice. So I had, and there are several in here, um, which is why I have Marsha and Lynette on. But
Robert, if I push forward on these, would you tell me when to stop?
this is where you stop.
Perfect.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Shadows push away from her glow and measure the distance between one moment and the next. Brother Wolf cries out hopefully every time she crosses the sky, longing for her to be with him again. Finally, she sets, and the lady's slippers and the boxberries gather around just to see how she shines back at him. Yes, my love, I am here.
Thank you, Marsha. If you could go to the next uh, frame. Um, and I really like to begin the calendar in a really traditional way. So we started with the sweat lodge. Uh, and this is the poem. Entering the lodge is returning to the womb of Mother Earth. Rocks taken from a bed of coals and passed through the door are all ancestors, and we thank each one with a sprinkle of tobacco as the ancient ones are carefully placed into the center of the lodge. The firekeeper covers the entrance, so no light exists other than the ancestors' fading orange glow. Water poured over them hisses and evaporates instantly into hot steam that billows up and around, creating heat upon heat. In the darkness, you pray, endure, talk, and sing. This is the first round of many that must be endured before exiting the lodge, rejuvenated and reborn. So that's the first round. When I painted this picture, the steam was just steam, and I looked at it. I pulled up a chair and looked at the picture to see everything was right, and I started seeing these animals in the steam, and I just filled in around them to make them more clear, but that they all came in to the sweat lodge on their own. So that's part of the spiritual nature in me and my artwork. If something insists on coming into a picture, I tend to let it come in. And so you have the Machoon, you have the owl, the wolf, the duck, the cat, the turtle. The mouse is also a mouse. The mouse up here in the right corner is a mouse and a whale. So it depends on how you look at it. So that's kind of interesting as well. I talked about, if we can move to the next slide. In the calendar, I talk about being in exile. And I drove the train for 24 years in Boston, and I never felt like I belonged there. I felt like, I was, being held apart from where I was supposed to be in life. And I did that for 24 years. And the poem that goes with this is called Exile. Let me see here. I can actually go through 3 poems right at this juncture. I was a spiritual exile. The trees sent me away. They instructed me to live in the white man's world and not return until I achieved the kind of success that white men aspire to have. I had a white man job, ate white man food, and walked in the white man's shoes. Essentially, I was a white man, not irreversibly or forever, but for a time. I was exiled from the forest, exiled from the waters, exiled from the sacred circle, and only returned to these places during brief interludes measured in white man time. I argued with the Great Spirit about this. I argued for years on end, in and out of many seasons, through the cycles of uncounted moons, but the Great Spirit remained silent and kept his silence, no matter how much I ranted and raved, until one day I stopped fighting, and my restless spirit became quiet and still. Then suddenly, almost unperceivable, like a whisper, he began to show me things. He gave me insight, the ability to decipher my own experiences, to look, to see, to listen. And if you could go to the next slide. This one is illumination. His head is Africa. The cracks, European divisions that torment still. Light from his mouth illuminates the path as he pushes his way into view, telling his story in word and song. My ancestors come from Ghana, from Mashpee and Aquinnah, England, Prince Edward Island, Sparta, Georgia, New Bedford, Netherlands by way of Suriname, and from Mattapan. When we lived in Wampanoag time, the day began when the sun's light reached the colorful clay cliffs at Aquinnah, and Mashop peacefully smoked his pipe. Now time is told from Greenwich, England. If anything at all, Greenwich Mean Time is where the night began. If you move to the next slide. Actually, let me pause here and talk about this for a second. This was for the month of April. And April is where everything unraveled and really became surrealistic for everybody. And I never understood the last line of my own poem. And I didn't like it. And I said, it doesn't make sense. And it just never sat right with me until April actually came. And then it made all the sense in the world. So let me, just want to make sure everything. Now we're doing this reading more informally than we have. And the way we've done it is it's been a performance. And we do it with 4 or 5 readers reading the different parts. And it's designed to be in any location or in any format. And specifically for a ceremonial circle, Native American style, but we've brought it to churches, museums, and now we're even having it, we've had it in the Zoom format. And I think when we tell our stories, when we come together like this, we're taking back a measure of our own power that we give away. You know, we tune into things that are just coming from anywhere in the universe, and we're so fixated on those things that we tend to give away our own own power. So I want you to, this is sort of like a meditation. You can even close your eyes and really think when I'm reading this, but, think about those first days in April as I read this. As you contemplate the universe contemplates you. You meditate, you dissipate, you drift with the wind, you flow with the water, you sink, you soar, you salivate. Eyes closed, you see hands reaching, giving, taking, fixing, breaking, building. Through the mind's eye, you see the world in all its parts. In the shadow of greatness, the impoverished wait to rise up out of poverty. The powerful wait for more power. The air waits to become wind, and the sea waits to boil over. All the while, the universe looks back, unmoved by feeble attempts to achieve what no man is meant to do. You are a pebble dropping in water. You are ripples pushing outward. You are a leaf falling. You are back from a brief waking dream. Everything is exactly the same, but different. So that last line, everything is exactly the same, but different. And for me, that kind of made sense, that finally made sense. And there are several things in this calendar that, make it really appropriate for 2020. And that's one of them. And, like the warrior with the bullets on his head. It came a time, in 2020 where people had to really think about having to fight for their place in America. And you had all the protests. And thank goodness, that most people didn't come with bullets. They came with their issues. They came and they protested. And they made their views known. They made it known that this is the way we're living today was unacceptable, and I think the Black Lives Matter movement was very powerful, and it's going to change. It's already changed the world, but it's going to change the world as we go back to normal. It's not going to be the same normal that it was. And I think, people are seeing each other in new lights, and they're more open-minded about things. And that also reinforces the stories that we tell. So the next one in here is for the month of May, called Red Sunrise. I didn't do that. Let me see. Somebody.
Ready? A red sun is rising, lifting with it red people, lifting the spirits that live in the land. Ancestors emerge from trees, rocks, and water. Birds, fish, and four-legged ones are watching, listening, and sensing the red sun rise. They hold out their hands and wings and fins and rejoice at their return to places once called home. High above the noise of civilization, the hawk glides effortlessly. Far below, a lone wolf makes her way through city streets tentatively. Grass pushes through concrete because there is a small crack, and there is light, and there is hope. There is a red sun rising through the trees and the clouds, up, up, up into the sky, shedding furious light onto the land, sending darkness into shadow, up, 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 until even shadow has no place to go. The red sun is rising. Red people coming, come running, come dancing, come sing. Red sun rising. It is so surprising we are still here.
That was Lynette Perdiz. Thank you, Lynette. Um, you know what? Uh, could you read Summer Solstice?
Yes, I'll have to look for it. So that's
Right
going to
next,
be
the next one.
summer solstice. The summer solstice is coming. Summer solstice is especially unique because it is potentially the brightest time that there is or ever could be. If there are no clouds, if it is not raining, if your eyes are open, if your spirit is clear, summer solstice can be the brightest time you ever know.
Thank you. That's really important because right now we're in the winter solstice, and with winter solstice, this the shortest day of the year, and we have what is that? Venus and Jupiter are going to be together in the sky tonight, making a bright superstar. And I hope the clouds clear so that we can see that. So you'll be able to see that around 7 o'clock tonight. Um, so there were two poems that went with June. Um, I don't know. Did we ever? Yeah, we did the. So the other poem is Positive Thought. Long, dark nights of winter become spring nights and continue to wane every day. The cold becomes distant memory. Flowers bloom, eggs hatch, and fish run. The same is true in positive thought. Reason emerges from chaos incrementally until wisdom once again is the rule. It is the thoughtful mind that rakes the coals, that fires the soul to make men whole. If we can move to the next frame, Deborah. A lot of people really like this picture. Yeah, and I have a lot of different thoughts about this because it's never a good thing to have a bird in the house, especially for Indians. And if a bird gets into the house, uh, and dies, that means somebody's gonna die. And that was one of the things that the superstitions when I first moved to Mashpee. I moved there when I was 10 years old. They would. That's one of the things they would say, and they would say people would always die in threes, and it does seem to happen that way. That there are spirits that cross over with another spirit or other spirits, and they tend to do it in threes. So the the bird in the cupboard, you know, is um, like an omen. Um, and in my meditations that led to me making the calendar, um, there was a time where I encountered a spirit, and the spirit went through me, and I had a lot of dreams and insights and visions, you know, in the month or so that that passed after that, uh, and I wrote this poem called "The Dodo Birds" because they woke me up in the middle of the night. The dodo birds woke me up this morning a little after 3. It was the notion of their plight that roused me from my sleep. My dreams turned into thoughts and my mind began to churn. I thought about how they were hunted to extinction and found myself between worlds. I contemplated how these things were related. I looked at myself and realized I have always walked between worlds, between the white world, the black world, and the red world, between spirit and flesh, between ideals and philosophies, between disputes, between people. The world I envision to one day be my own is also a world between worlds, between the ancestors and future generations. I envision myself and others like me taking what we can salvage from the past, what exists now, and what we dream to create a place for ourselves unto itself. This is the world I want for my children. In my experiences, I have come across many things that make my mind spin. I have seen changes that make no sense, yet people walk that path. They ride, they drive, they fly until the path is no longer a path, but a highway. The highway connects to bigger highways, to cities and airports connected by unseen channels that enable anyone to communicate with everyone, everywhere, but no one listens. So what about these dodo birds? What do they mean to me? Is my world different because they are not here? Would the highways go to other places? Would we be better off if we let dodo birds live? The Creator created one place on earth without violence, without predators, where creatures had no concept of peril. I closed my eyes and pointed backwards through time into infamy and frowned at the scene. Men came. They killed the dodo bird, harvested their eggs. They roasted and basted, cooked them on open fires. They made souffles and omelets and dodo pate, grabbing them up 10 at a time, until one day when they were fat from gluttony and lazy beyond reason because the fruit from the land dropped out of the trees into their hands, still picking their teeth from the last dodo feast, poised to roll over and reach for another, only to discover the dodo was no mo. At this point, is there anyone that would like to ask a question and talk about, you know, where we've been so far? We're halfway through the year on the calendar now. And I did want this to be more informal. I wanted it to be a discussion with some reading rather than a reading with discussion. So if anyone one would like to chime in.
Robert, I was going to remind you to talk about some of the things that you have in the cupboard with the audience and how you did this drawing so many years ago, and to see the objects that are in the cupboard now and how relevant they are.
Yeah, like right about that time, you see there's Aunt Jemima in there, or is that Mrs. Butterworth? I can't even. And you have Uncle Ben, and all of these icons that people have, and they were questioning, uh, the products that we use, even Land O'Lakes butter, how they use people of color and Native people, and um, and that discussion made for a lot of changes, and it's just interesting that here when these things are being talked about right at that time, you have uh, Mrs. Butterworth and Uncle Ben right up there in the cupboard. Um, and I felt that that's kind of interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, Lynette. Um, I have a question from Debbie. Uh, oh, that's okay. That's private. Okay. Um,
Are you in the chat room? Joan Lockhart asks, are the poems and paintings done together, or which comes first? Or do you just pair compatible poetry and paintings?
well, that's a good question. I The poems came after. The paintings, I painted the paintings, all the paintings except one were painted for this calendar. um and that's the honor beat, and that was part of what inspired, the calendar, is part of the meditations that led to this meditation. Um and then, almost as an afterthought, I went through my poetry over the last 20 years or so, and um, my writings, a few essays, and I put them together, and they just really came together in a way that that was meaningful, that made the calendar, reading the calendar, a really full experience. And uh, that's just the way it happened. Uh, and I think it happened in that way for a reason. You don't always understand, why you do things. Um, and I think it really is special the way everything uh, came together and how it coincided with the times that we're in.
Your next question from Loretta Buthorn. Please tell us the name of this painting. And thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Oh, this is called Rage Against the Machine, with the crow coming out of the cover. Uh, Now the next one is is Earth and Sky. Let me see here. Earth and sky meet where the pipe and the stem come together. And you always make an offering to the four directions, Mother Earth and the Creator. In this painting, you have the spirit of the earth, and the spirit of the sky, and a man making a prayer, and the prayer being accepted. And when you smoke the pipe, you always offer the pipe to the Creator before you take it yourself. That's part of the pipe ceremony. But I also wrote a poem that goes with this called Vision. And I wrote it in the spring of 1996. And at the time I was a union steward, and neither the company or the union was really happy about that, because I really represented people, but they would take it out on the people I represented. And they did different things to harass me, and I was gonna give up. And I said, no, I'm not gonna do this job anymore. I'm gonna go into the union and tell them I'm not gonna do it. And I got on the train and I just sat there riding, and I had a vision. And this is the vision. For the briefest moment, I was a flat rock skipping across a small pond. I could feel my body rhythmically strike the water, one sleek bound after another, until my momentum could take me no further. With a small splash, I disappeared. I could see the ripples pushing outward in my wake. I could feel the coolness of the water. I could see the trees and the sun. I felt its warmth. It was as if I was everywhere. And I felt rejuvenated and filled with hope after that. And I did not quit my steward job. I held on to it, and I kept doing that work. That's really a special poem to me. I had read in a book about the sensation of being everywhere. And it was Trevanian, a book by Trevanian called Shabumi. And it was about an American boy raised by a Japanese general. And the general taught him meditation and strategy and all of these things. And what he would meditate and go to this field, and he would be everywhere in the field. And I remember being really mad. I said, you can't be everywhere. I threw the book down for a while because I was so mad at, that somebody would be, would say that they could be everywhere. And then, a number of years later, it happened to me, and I think that was an incredible gift, to have like 3 seconds where you're everywhere. It's amazing. So I probably shouldn't have got mad, that somebody else was everywhere, but I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that could happen to anyone. But that's life. That's what life shows you things. And when you're tested in life shows you how powerful you are and how resilient you are. And I think a lot of people are finding that out, with what's happening today in the world. And, like nobody's okay. You call somebody up and you say, oh, how's everybody? Is everybody all right? And, sometimes the answer is no. no, this is happening, to one of my loved ones, or this has happened. Um, and sometimes everybody, most times everybody's okay. Yeah, everybody over here is okay. But then they qualify it. You say, oh yeah, I'm okay, um, but nobody really is okay, because you can't be okay with this. And every day you got to get up and reinvent yourselves. And like all this doing stuff on Zoom. Uh, we're in the process of reinventing ourselves. Um, and I just think it's worth noting, that, we're going through changes, and, by instead of going out to the theater or going to a meeting or going to a reading or something, we're here on Zoom, and just about everybody on here just learned how to do this, and we're still learning how to do this. So the next thing I want to touch on is this essay, and there are 3 essays I put at the in the last few months in the calendar, and this one goes with September. If you can change that to the next slide. And there's also a little poem that goes with this. I want to read the poem first. These people are my people. They have our faces and our mannerisms. They walk like us, run like us, and fight like us. They share our vision. They love the land just like we do, because they are us. So the essay is about this medicine fire. We lit a medicine fire for 10 years. There was medicine in the thoughts and events that made us decide to light the first one. I traveled to Mashpee to talk it over with different people in the tribe. Everyone agreed that it was a good idea, but they all seemed unusually troubled too. First, I stopped to see Lenny, one of our tribal members. He was distant and didn't say much at all, but nodded to the idea of lighting the fire. When I visited cousin Ramona, she sighed and said she was sad and also troubled because she couldn't say why she was sad. In spite of her sadness, perhaps because of it, she also supported the idea of lighting the fire. Then I went to the tribal council meeting and discussed lighting the fire with several people there. They also liked the idea of lighting the fire. A few people even agreed to be fire keepers. The consensus was yes. But everyone there also seemed more quiet, sad, and distant. I returned to Boston with us having established that for 9 days in November, we would keep a fire lit from the first quarter moon to the full moon. I was happy for what was accomplished, but worried a bit about the sadness in the air. The following night, I climbed into bed with plenty of time to get a good night's sleep before going to my job operating subway trains. After only a few minutes in bed with no thought at all, I picked up the phone and called in sick. I had no reason to do this. I knew I would get in trouble for doing so, but there was no way I was going into work. Every fiber of my being said no. In the morning, I woke up in good spirit, happy with my decision not to go to work. I picked up the phone and invited Chris Banks over for coffee, and I went back to sleep. Repeated ringing of the doorbell woke me up. Chris was outside yelling, "We're being attacked. We're being attacked." When I opened up the door, he rushed me up the stairs, still yelling, "Quick, turn on the TV. A passenger jet just hit the World Trade Center. We're being attacked." They came, the TV came on to show one of the World Trade Center towers smoking from a gaping hole in the upper floors. As we watched in stunned amazement and horror, a second plane ripped through the other tower. The explosion caused a stream of fire to shoot out of the far side of that building. We watched the towers burning, people waving out of broken windows. We tensed up in horror when they climbed into the window frames and jumped to certain death, resolute about their decision to die. Our heart stopped beating when the first tower collapsed into itself and neatly crumbled to the ground. Not like an elevator, but like a fist pulverizing everything in its violent path. We watched the people running to escape the billowing plume of smoke and debris that pushed outward in all direction, overcoming everything. We watched people emerge from the settling plume covered whitely with ash and dust like ghosts emerging from a nightmare. I sat on the couch for the next 3 days and did nothing but watch. My trip to Mashpee was on my mind too. It seemed as if we all knew something was about to happen. No one could say what it was, but we felt it coming. That was September's essay. I don't know if that's, let's move to the next one. Can you go one forward with that? And I want to see, oh yeah, it's there. All right. So this is the only painting that I did before I decided to do the calendar. It's called the Honor Beat. The Honor Beat was inspired by 3 things. The first inspiration came when I sat and practiced drumming with a new drum group called Eastern Sun in 2001. It was their custom to charge $1 every time a drummer missed a beat. So after I lost enough money and my dollar bills were tied all over the drum, I backed my chair up and just watched. The way they worked their voices made me feel like their vocal cords would come right out of their necks. After studying this for a long time, I decided that the drum was a good subject to paint. At first, I worked quickly and made good progress. But the second inspiration to the Honor Beat caused a creative impasse that made me stop working. In the spring of 2001, I visited the site of the Great Swamp Massacre, where Palmetto Comet and his warriors were defeated. We walked around the dirt road that circled crudely cut granite pillars that marked the scene of the defeat of my people. It was a moving experience to stand there, having heard stories of the attack and what it meant to my people. We decided to make an offering to our fallen ancestors we had sage to burn, but found we had no matches to light the sage. It was getting dark, and the surrounding swamp was alive with unseen animals beyond the thickness of impenetrable trees and plant life. Sadly, we started to leave without burning sage or tobacco. But on the way out, at the top of the circle, a book of matches was on the ground. It was as if we weren't supposed to leave without making an offering after all. I went home and discovered that a spirit must have hitched a ride. In the middle of the night, I opened my eyes and he was 2 inches in front of my face. This was the only time I can say I actually saw a spirit. I was amazed but remained calm and felt no fear. When the spirit realized my eyes were open, it became frightened, bugged out, and went right through me and out the back of my house. About a week later, I took my children to a memorial for my Uncle John. As you might remember, Slow Turtle, beloved supreme medicine man for the Wampanoag Nation. I must have accidentally taken a picture while I was still at home. When I developed the film, one of the pictures revealed two spirits. The spirit that came with me in the foreground, if you can go to the next slide. The spirit that came with me in the foreground, speeding through the den, while in the background, the face of an older spirit filled the pantry window. Apparently, the elder spirit came to bring the mischievous one back to the great swamp. For about a month after the spirit and I intersected, when I slept, I was in cool blue light, like the first light filtering through trees and the morning mist. The light was in my dreams or half dreams because I always seemed to be half awake. I was aware of my dreams and seemed to be able to enter and exit dreams at will. When I opened my eyes and looked around the dark room, I could still feel the soothing, cool blue light. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my half. When I closed my eyes, I was back in my half dream blue light, like mist all around me. Somehow, the blue light was connected to my painting. I could not continue work on it until I understood how they were related. So the honor beat sat untouched for 3 years. The third inspiration to the honor beat came when I was a firekeeper at the 2004 Medicine Fire at 55 acres in Mashpee. The moon was full and it was very warm and windy. This was strange because people called me on their phone devices and complained how cold it was where they were in neighboring towns. The cold air meeting warm air must have created the strong winds. I could hear the wind coming from a long way off before it blew past and trailed off into the distance. After a while, I began to notice that on the tail end of the wind, I heard singing. At first, I thought I was hearing distant voices, but then listened more carefully. I realized the singing could only be heard trailing the wind or other sounds like distant cars or planes. It was as if the voices were riding the wind, as if they could not exist on their own. I observed this for a long time. It continued for nearly an hour, with every gust of wind joined with the far off singing. It was like the wind opened a window to the spirit world, allowing the voices to pass through. I was keeping the fire all alone, and I'm sad that no one experienced that with me. I think the ancestors let their voices be heard because we honored them by keeping the fire, our prayers, and making offerings of sage, tobacco, and cedar and sweetgrass. The spirit world sang out to me. It was a blessing. About a month later, I started painting again. There were no more impasses. All of the drummers are spirits. The drum is the universe. The four hands in the middle are the four directions of the medicine wheel. The hand at the bottom is the spirit world. The drummer with his beater held high above his head is about to deliver the honor beat. If you can go backwards, Deborah, to that. On this painting, I want to make a footnote on the blue light that I experienced. When I was in the blue light, I experienced strange and wonderful things that are too numerous to mention in this context. But there is one thing I should mention. One night I was awakened by the thought of something I wrote when I was a transit union steward years earlier. These words surfaced in my mind and wouldn't go away. Politics, politics, politics. I couldn't remember anything but these words 3 times. It was urgent for me to find out why it was so important. In the middle of the night, I got up, went into the attic, and started sifting through a pile of small notebooks, all bent from being carried in my back pocket when I was the union steward. I flipped through the pages of book after book, back through time until I found what I was looking for. It was an unfinished thought I had written in my notes and forgotten about. It read, politics, politics, politics. There are politics of nations, politics of religion and finance, and politics of the human spirit. Although I didn't mean it that way when I wrote it. In this reality, while I was in the blue light, the phrase only had one meaning. There are politics in the spirit world, just like we have politics in our own world. Evidently, these politics sometimes intersect and carry forward. When the blue light finally faded away, I was exhausted and experienced withdrawal. It took a great deal of energy to walk in our world and in the spirit world at the same time. So that's my experience with the honor beat and how that came about, that painting. And if we can move to the next essay, yes. This is hold on a second. It rains, so I had to bring the rain in. I had to make it rain. The medicine fire in 2006 was a punishing fire. Punishing rain, punishing wind, and punishing smoke. The rain came with us at first light. At first, the rain was light, then it became steady, then it was heavy and never stopped being heavy after that. The wind came and increased throughout the day. We had the lodge for shelter, but the fire in the lodge got restless and wouldn't keep still. We adjusted the door and the smoke hatch, but after a long battle that lasted into the night, the smoke and rain prevailed, and we were driven from the lodge. Outside, the wind made the medicine fire into a furnace that constantly needed to be fed to battle the wind and rain. The largest, soggiest, unsplit logs went into the fire defiantly, but just after a few seconds, the inferno burst into flames. Just before midnight, the winds died down, and I moved to my car, tired and weak. I broke my fast sooner than I intended. My eyes burned. My hands were chapped and dry. I couldn't see to drive. When someone drove me, we found no stores open to buy eye drops to ease my aching eyes. The rain stopped around 2 a.m. I could see the stars in the sky. I was too weak and tired to say a prayer and too fearful of the idea of more painful smoke getting into my eyes to enter the lodge to get my tobacco so I could make an offering. To be truthful, at that moment, I had nothing left to offer. At first light, the fire was a pile of red coals and unburnt ends of logs that I pulled together and rekindled. I burnt sage and smudged the circle and the lodge. The fire in the lodge appeared to be completely out, but I found one ember smaller than a penny, took a fistful of twigs, blew on the ember, and rekindled that fire too. I found the smallest log in the wood stack because the fire was so tiny. But when I tried to split that little log, it gave me a hard time, demonstrating how the smallest things can give you the most trouble. This made me think about us. That little log was like us. The white man was done with us a long time ago. But look around, we are still here.
A day earlier, at first light, the smudge stick wouldn't light. The ends were loose and spread apart like fingers. I found a piece of hemp and used it to pull the loose strands of sage together and tied them into a tight bundle. The smudge stick lit after that, and I realized the smudge stick was also like us. Our fire won't burn unless we come together. This year's fire was a punishing fire, but it stayed lit. It was a sign of punishing times. I was driven from the lodge to be shown that we cannot go back to the ancient ways, but we must keep them. We must use them, expand upon the knowledge the ancient ones have passed down through generations. Use the knowledge given to you in your dreams. Look for the things that the Creator is trying to show you. It is time for us to see the gifts that we have, the gift of spirit that you can lose, but no one can take away. The gift of insight. We see things most people can't, but too often ignore what we are shown. The gift of unity. We are fragmented, but never stop wanting. After all, this time we still want to be our own people. The gift of hope, the gift of prayer and laughter and compassion are all things that we have, things we must use and share and let go of when it comes time to pass our gifts on to the next generation. This is why we are here now, why we were here yesterday, and why we will be here tomorrow. With the gifts the Creator has given us, we are forever.
As we're coming to the uh, conclusion of this meditation on Indigenous life, there's one more story.
Robin, can you just turn your volume down a little on the music?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, because it mutes your voice when you're reading.
Yeah. Okay, is my voice still come out? Am I
You're
loud enough?
there. You're there.
I'm good?
Yes.
All right. As we conclude this meditation on Indigenous life, it is necessary to add one more story. At Hasnamissa, it rained so much on that first day. In the morning, the wheelbarrow was filled to the rim with water. When I walked by, a spirit whispered to me, clear as day, "You need to empty that wheelbarrow." I frowned at the wheelbarrow and refused the spirit's advice. "No, that wheelbarrow isn't hurting anyone." Without another thought, I arrogantly continued along my way. Later that afternoon, when the encounter was long forgotten, I entered a competition splitting logs. I set 5 logs upright, split them all, one after the other, one strike each. Then I handed the axe to Randy Josephs and boasted about my feat. "See that? I split mine. Top that, Randy Josephs." Randy excitedly took the axe into his grip as I set 6 logs upright for him to split. Randy began swinging the axe with such force that the logs flew apart as the axe crashed through. Without pause, he raised the axe over his head and behind his back with each crushing stroke, causing me to reel back to get out of the way as he rolled out in a quickening pace in a widening arch that with each log split. In turn, I rolled back and back and back until I fell backwards directly into the wheelbarrow, still filled to the rim with water. "Top that," laughed Randy Josephs. I feel like Jesus when I tell that story because I fell into the wheelbarrow so you don't have to. And we have Moon Set left. Lynette, could you find that? Would you like to read that for us? I don't, I don't know. That might not work.
Moon, I have it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Shadows push away from her brilliant silver blue glow, measuring the distance between one moment and the next. Brother Wolf cries out, hopefully every time she crosses. The sky longing for her to be with him again. Finally, she sets, and the lady's slippers and boxberries gather around, just to see how she shines. Back at him so radiantly, her smile is everywhere. Yes, my love, I am here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful. And there's only one poem that I wrote after I finished everything for the calendar, and it's called "Walking with the Creator." Sometimes I smile outwardly and laugh in fits of glee when I know the Creator is smiling at me. I am thankful for my existence and try to live out my purpose for existing. I am thankful for all of the lives that I have and will someday intersect with. I thank the Creator for the lives that came before I existed. I live my life in their footsteps and help prepare the world for the ones who will walk in my shoes after I exist. I want to do what I can to make sure that our future world is a happy world. I want and ask the Creator of all things to make our world a peaceful world where the highest virtues of existing are expressed. Our intellect, our interaction with the environment, our responsibility to maintain the balance of things, our ability to love, laugh, and cry are all things that make the Creator take notice. Thoughts like this came to me when I walked with the Creator through the woods down by the Mashpee River on hundreds and hundreds of thought-filled strolls. I walked with the Creator at 12 acres. We walked in the ceremonial circle at 55 acres. We walked together in the great swamp where so many of our dreams were cut short. But some of those distant memories still lingered and followed me through the dream world in a haze of radiant blue light. The Creator was with me in the ceremonial circle at a sonnet, and we walked together at Hasnamisset where it rained all day. I walked with him on the day after that near the great oak tree next to the council rock, and I knew Comet stood on that rock long before I did. I imagine him vividly standing on Council Rock, looking out over hundreds and hundreds of Wampanoag warriors, Narragansett warriors, Nipmuc warriors, Pequot, Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Shinnecock warriors, Abenaki, Mohegan, Mohawk, Mi'kmaq, Montauk, Cree, Natick, and Niantic warriors. The ancestors all came together to defend our dreams. And look at us now. We are still here. I meditated in the Creator's presence countless times and still do. I argued with him, asked endless questions. I saw things, was shown things, and learned things. I was given answers, and sometimes I couldn't understand the meaning of the answer I was given. But I hold those missed messages in my mind and still believe that one day we will wake up from this dream and see our way home. Thank you. Hello.
Robert, that was wonderful. And Basher and Lynette, the readings, the art. I'm not sure if there's anyone out there who has any questions. It's just so relevant, I think. And I would say, I guess just in conclusion then, that we have a very special gift at our library now. And it's given to us by an anonymous donor. But it's a painting by Robert. It's called The Walrus Council.
Oh,
I
right.
know soon we'll have it up on our website for folks to enjoy. And when we all return to our library, it'll be in a very prominent place for us all to think about every day. So I wish you all a very wonderful winter solstice. And let's think about the new year and all the thoughts of art and poetry and how the two intersect. And take care of yourselves and stay well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you, Robert. Thank
I
you.
can share that, the Walrus Council if you want, before we go.
Sure. Here it is.
Oh, there you go. Oh, great.
Oh,
There, it's beautiful. Yeah.
great.
That's
Wow.
gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The yellow submarines in there too, you know. Here's that bottom left.
There it is.
Well, thank you, Lynette. I think Marsha was gone. She said she could only stay a minute. So-
Right. No, it was a pleasure.
Very nice. Beautiful presentation. Perfect for today.
Absolutely.
But thank you for having me. And I look forward to when, you know, everybody gets their shots to actually come there in person.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Well, we look forward to that too.
it's so important, relationship building. And we'll continue to do that. So thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't forget, we got the planets lining up for us tonight.
That's right.
Oh, and we'd get rid of the clouds.
Well, you know what? I think they might just pull apart just for us.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too. Good. We'll make that happen. Bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.